So even though every headline I see in the news right now is about the Democratic National Convention, the thing we're going to talk about regarding the current race for the elections in November is about the U.S. Senate. We have a lot of really important races going on. The Democrats right now have a 52 to 48 lead in the Senate, and they're going to be
51-49.
51-49. They're going to be trying to maintain that, and it's going to be difficult because of the map. So what do you have on the state of the race right now?
Okay, so the map for this year for the Democrats is absolutely brutal.
Yes.
Okay, the Democrats have a lot of incumbents to defend across a lot of swing states. Okay, so the races that are like up in the races that are in contention are Nevada, Arizona, Montana, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Texas. Okay, I just listed 7 races. 6 of them are Democrat incumbents. That's what Democrats have to defend.
Brutal.
And the only Democrat pickup opportunity is Texas. Okay, that's how brutal this map is.
Yeah, that is brutal.
It's funny because this map, Senate elections are every 6 years. So this is the map that happened in the 2006 George Bush wave. Okay, this happened in the 2012 Obama re-election wave. This happened in the 2018 anti-Trump wave, and now this is the first time where this is kind of in a neutral environment almost. So we have Democrats in Ohio and Montana that wouldn't stand a chance in a year like 2010 or 2014. So, but because it happened to me in 2012, they had a chance.
Yep.
And so now we're in that same type of pattern here where a lot of these races are going to be really hard for Democrats to defend. And, people like to look at the presidential race and like, oh, it's the only thing that matters. Being president is so important. Kamala Harris can say anything she wants, but if she doesn't have a Congress that's going to sign the stuff that she wants them to sign, doesn't matter.
True.
It's not going to matter. And if we talk about all the time about judges, how important it is to nominate judges.
Yep.
If you don't have the Senate, it's going to be very hard to nominate judges.
Yep.
So these races are very important. Lucky for Democrats, they're kind of killing it in the Senate right now. So let's go over the ones that are really good for Democrats that are surprising, frankly. Nevada. Nevada in 2022 was the closest Senate election in the country. Cortez Masto only won by like 0.3 percentage points. Wow. Okay. Currently, the Democrat in Nevada is beating the Republican by 10 points in the polls.
Wow.
Nevada, killing it. Jackie Rosen, killing it.
Okay.
I don't know why. I actually don't. Jackie Rosen I think she's only been in the Senate for 1 term.
Okay.
She's not a long-term incumbent. She doesn't have like a crazy track record, but she's killing it. She seems to be popular.
Interesting.
Now we go over to Wisconsin. We have Tammy Baldwin. Tammy Baldwin, long-term incumbent. She's killing it, up by 7, up by 8 over her opponent. Let's go over to Pennsylvania. Bob Casey Jr. Bob Casey Jr. has been a popular incumbent. His dad was a politician in Pennsylvania. He's winning by around 8 points. Okay? Michigan, Alyssa Slotkin. This is one of the tougher ones. Alyssa Slotkin, this is an open Senate seat, which means she's not an incumbent, so she doesn't have that automatic advantage. And also, the guy who's running against her isn't absolutely hated in the state. So these other Republicans kind of are absolutely hated. But this Republican isn't. Mike Rogers, his name. Slotkin is only leading by around 5 points. That's still pretty good, but it's not a blowout like we're looking at Nevada.
Okay.
Now, the one that I really want to focus on here that showcases Republican incompetence, frankly, is Arizona. So we have Ruben Gallego, who's a Democrat congressman running against someone named Kari Lake. You may or may know Kari Lake. She ran in 2022 for the governor of Arizona, and she led in every single poll prior to Election Day. She was ahead by around 4 points on Election Day in the polls.
Really?
Yes. She was ahead by 4 points
Holy
the
cow.
day of the election. And then Katie Hobbs won the Democrat by like 1 point.
Wow.
Kari Lake refused to concede. She said her election was stolen.
Yep.
She went on and on and on about how she's the real governor and all this crazy stuff. She only had to explicitly say that she wasn't the governor when she expressed interest in running in Senate, because Arizona state law says you can't be the governor and run for Senate.
Of course.
So she had to. So anyway, Kari Lake is a nightmare of a candidate. Blatant nightmare. She can't campaign well. She has alienated everyone who's ever voted Republican prior to Donald Trump.
Yep.
She's calling people who voted for John McCain like losers.
Yep.
So she has no crossover appeal. And Ruben Gallego is like running away with it right now. It's shocking.
Damn.
It's shocking because Arizona used to be like a deep red state.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about the home of Barry Goldwater from '64. Okay, this is like conservative bastion Arizona.
Yeah.
Now is electing Democrats up and down the ballot almost consistently. It's shocking that
wild.
Ruben Gallego is pulling away with it. So where does that leave us? That leaves Democrats with 48 seats and Republicans with 49.
Okay.
There are 3 seats that I would consider in the toss-up category. First off, let's talk about Ohio. Ohio is Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown versus Bernie Moreno. Bernie Moreno has never been elected to anything. Okay, he was like he owned like a used car sales thing. That's what he did beforehand. He was endorsed by Donald Trump, and he spent a ton of money. Sherrod Brown and Bernie Moreno have both spent around over $120 million so far on this race.
Wow.
It is on track to be the most expensive Senate race in the history of the country.
Wow.
Tons of money. Like the people on Twitter that I follow that are from Ohio say like every single time they turn on the TV, every hour they see 4 political ads. You can't escape it.
Crap.
When I scroll on my Twitter, all I see is Bernie Moreno ads. I don't know why they think I'm going to donate to Bernie Moreno, but they think they have me.
They
have me pegged.
Okay.
But right now, Brown is up 5 points, 4 points, 6 points.
Okay.
And Sherrod Brown is a very popular senator. He has a lot of crossover appeal. He's big on labor union support. He is the chairman of the banking committee, or a high-ranking member of the banking committee.
Okay.
So he does a lot to go after big banking regulation. It's a popular position to take in Ohio,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that coastal elite aura that plagues so many Democrats.
Totally.
You know.
Yes.
And so if Democrats are able to win in Ohio, that puts you at 49-49.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Brown is definitely the right kind of progressive. He's the progressive who feels like he's still talking to what's supposed to be the grassroots,
Yes.
the foundation of the Democratic Party.
To be honest with you, I'm probably more aligned with Sherrod Brown than most other senators, I feel like.
Okay.
Like I think Sherrod Brown and Elizabeth Warren fit a lot of the same economic policies.
Yes.
But Sherrod Brown, isn't going to make a big fuss about vaccine mandates.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I think that's his lane. And I think a lot of people like him for that one.
Totally. Totally.
Another senator who fits that exact description is Jon Tester in Montana. Now, this is the race that I think is really going to decide the Senate.
Okay.
If I had to rate it, I would say Ohio is lean D, okay? And then Montana is pure toss-up.
Okay.
Jon Tester has been in there since 2006. He's running against Tim Sheehy, who is an ex-Navy SEAL, a business owner. He's never been a politician before, but that's kind of impressive in nowadays politics.
Yeah.
Right? People like that blank slate. So now we have Tim Sheehy going against Jon Tester. Jon Tester and Tim Sheehy have both spent around $80 million. Jon Tester has spent 89.
Wow.
Tim Sheehy has spent 85.
Wow.
Okay. The money coming out of these two Senate races are insane.
Yeah.
The next one lower than that is like 40 million in Michigan. Like the money being spent in Ohio and Montana, it's just not even comparable. It's ungodly amounts of money. The recent polls that we have is Tester up 5. A couple weeks ago, it was Sheehy +6. Another one from a week ago was Sheehy +2. So it's toss-up.
We don't know.
It goes either way.
Yeah.
What's interesting is when you poll likely voters, it's more likely to be that Sheehy +2 closer, tighter race when as you just look at registered voters. So registered voters are people who are registered, but the pollster isn't looking for whether or not they're more likely to vote. Whereas, likely vote is the opposite. They're waiting for that. And so now if Jon Tester wins this race, then the Democrats will hold the Senate. It all really comes down to Montana, unless the Democrats can flip Texas. Now, this is a tall order, and Democrats have been talking about flipping Texas probably since 2016, right?
Yeah.
The demographics in Texas look relatively good for Democrats in the long term, but that's in the long term. Winning in the short term is difficult. The closest Democrats got was in 2018 with Beto O'Rourke versus Ted Cruz. Beto O'Rourke lost by around 3 points. It was a very, very close Senate race.
But not that close.
But not that close.
And the feeling with Beto O'Rourke is this is the guy.
Yes. The feeling with Beto O'Rourke at the time was like, if anyone's going to do it, he's going to do it.
And he didn't do it.
And he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And that was even 2018.
Yeah.
Right? That was when Donald Trump was in office during the Democratic wave.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
It's hard. Now, what makes people hopeful this year is in 2016, Donald Trump won Texas by around 9 points in 2016. In 2020, Biden won Texas by around, Trump won Texas by around 5 points. So people are thinking, oh man, the trend in Texas is actually pretty solid. If you go before 2016, Romney won by around 16. Like, you know what I mean? Like the trend is solid in Democrats' favor.
Okay.
But now you're going to start hitting this wall.
Yeah.
And also trends aren't constant. It's a cycle.
Totally. My worry is that Texas has become like Florida culturally, and that it's viewed as a place it's a Republican magnet,
right?
In a way, and in the same way it repels Democrats.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I worry about like just people moving, right? And it's a culture, it's a space where even if the demographics do move in the right direction, it's likely that incubates people to be Republican.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And so like the Blexus dream is still that. It's a dream.
Yeah.
It matters what happens inside of Austin and Dallas and Houston, that Texas triangle, right? If there's a strong turnout machine in the Texas triangle,
yep,
it's in play. I mean, think about this. People consider Minnesota a slight swing state, right? Well,
that's crazy. Yeah.
Minnesota voted more Democrat than Texas voted Republican. So if you're really going by that, Texas is way closer in that toss-up category than Minnesota is. And
sure,
people still talk about making plays for Minnesota. So it's interesting that Texas, I think it's more in play than people give it credit for.
What would you put it at?
I would
give
put
me percentages.
I would put it as 70% Cruz.
Okay.
30% Colin Allred is his name, who the Democrats running against Ted Cruz. The current poll that came out yesterday is a likely voter poll from the University of Houston. It has Cruz up by 2, 47 to 45.
Okay.
It's good. The same poll has Harris losing to Trump by 5, the 2020 margin. Okay. So that means
in Texas.
So what that means is that there's a group of undecideds here that doesn't know who they're going to vote for between Cruz and Allred, but those people have made up their mind in the presidential. So Allred has to win some Trump voters. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Which is, it's hard for me to imagine because the one thing Ted Cruz I think is good at is being a little like attack chihuahua.
Totally.
Right. Like he's the annoying online conservative voice, the one who feels like there's just a lot of like hatred feels like too strong of a word, but he's annoying. He's annoying. He's complaining about things all the time. He's not really putting forth a vision.
He's a culture warrior.
Yeah, he's a culture warrior.
Right.
And that's what I feel like, that's kind of why I think he has a good chance in Texas.
No, and
right?
because he might be able to get that momentum behind him.
Yeah.
But now with Colin Allred, what's interesting about him is he has a pretty high approval rating. He has a net 11% approval rating in the state.
Okay.
Ted Cruz has a net +1 approval rating in the state. Now, one of the reasons Colin Allred has this higher approval rating is because a lot of people don't know him.
Yeah, and the people who do know him are more concentrated in the liberal areas.
Exactly. And so now what happens is if he's able to define himself over the next month and define himself as a cross the party liner of a fighter, of a not radical liberal, and he's an ex NFL football player, so he's got that going for him.
Yep.
So it's going to be an interesting race to watch. Now, what do you think the odds are of the Democrats keeping the Senate?
42%.
Wow. That makes me happy to hear. I love that.
I mean, I'm trying to like honestly assess how I feel internally because there are a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of seats for them to lose. But I would handicap it for Tester. I would handicap it for Brown. I would say that both of them, I think they're more likely to win than not. If they do, I think Democrats keep the Senate.
Yeah.
But they're still significant. But the percentage that both of them win.
Right.
And all the other seats that might be up for grabs.
Yes.
that's why I still think it's less likely that they keep the Senate, but they have a decent
chance. I think I would put it at 30.
Okay.
That's where I would put it. The same chance that I have of Colin Allred winning Texas. That's where I put. Because honestly, I'm looking at this as like Wisconsin's not going red this year. Michigan's not. Pennsylvania's not.
So what are you?
I'm looking at Montana, Ohio, and Texas.
And you think there's only a 30% chance that Democrats win 2 of those?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, I'm pretty bullish on Brown.
But you're bearish
on Tester. I'm nervous. Tester has to outrun Harris by like 20 points in Montana. That's just hard to do.
I guess, but he did it.
He did it
in 18.
He did it in 18. He did it in 2012.
Yeah.
Right. He did it. So can he do it again?
Yeah.
A couple of the election models that I like. One is called Race to the White House. They put the Democrats' chance of winning the Senate at like 18%. It's too low. It's not 18%.
Okay.
It's going to be higher. It all comes down to Montana and Ohio and Texas. And the fact that I'm even saying Texas is crazy. I wouldn't have said it if this Houston University poll didn't come out today.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have even included it in this segment. I would have said it was likely R and move on.
Sure.
There's a reason I'm not talking about Florida, right?
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking about that. But yeah, I have my Sherrod Brown shirt over there in the corner, and my John Tester shirt's in the mail right now.
Perfect.
Good.
So, we have a Patreon. And since you made it to the end of the episode, that means that maybe you are somewhat interested in the content we make, which, let me say, that's awesome.
That's so cool that you think that we have good takes enough for you to watch our stuff. That means a lot.
Thank you so much. You're probably wrong, but we'll take it. If you want to support the show, and we post exclusive content on there, so if you want to see more of that, see us go deeper onto a few other topics, maybe some of the stuff we post on there is stuff that we think the normies on YouTube might be a little bit less interested in, but the nerds that want to go to Patreon are more interested in. Feel free to check it out. There's going to be a link in the video description. There's a link in the channel description as well.
Perfect.
We would super appreciate it.
Love you guys.